Hi, I'm David Delaney. I'm a licensed psychotherapist in my 33rd year of private practice. I'm the founder of BoulderNeuroFeedback.com and a certified master neuroptimal trainer. I'm also a representative for the Zengar Institute Incorporated, who makes neuroptimal neurofeedback brain training systems. Let's talk a little bit about what's neurofeedback, and then more specifically, what's neuroptimal neurofeedback brain training. Neuroptimal is developed by Drs. Val and Sue Brown of the Zengar Institute in Canada. Neuroptimal, in my view, is an advanced form of neurofeedback. Here's Dr. Valdine Brown's statement. I've not only used, but owned and taught the use of virtually every piece of neurofeedback and biofeedback equipment that has been around. And this is partly why I was attracted to working with the Browns, because of Val's comprehensive theoretical and technological understanding of what's happening in the entire field and, let's say, under the hood. Neuroptimal can offer whatever any other neurofeedback approach can do, and much more. We no longer diagnose based on a snapshot of a moment in the past, and then based on that past picture, push and inhibit various areas of the brainwave spectrum to motivate change. Frankly, I was never attracted to working that way. I researched the field for 6 years before choosing Neuroptimal. I was looking for an approach that was non-aggressive or non-invasive, could improve the central nervous system's adaptability and resilience, could get underneath the biological mechanisms that protect unresolved trauma and stress that can drive suffering, could speak to the central nervous system in its own language, not using words, something that was natural and global, and something that used nonlinear science. And we'll talk about the differences between linear and nonlinear science. Neuroptimal has evolved, in my view, as the next step in the use of neurofeedback technology. And it's non-invasive, not diagnostic, and not protocol-driven. Let's look at a quick history of the field. Dr. Berger begins measuring biological energy in the early 1900s, which leads to the development of the EEG, the electroencephalograph. Dr. Barry Sturman of UCLA sets up his lab. NASA's having problems with astronauts absorbing rocket fuel and having seizures. It demonstrates that neurofeedback can reduce and even stop seizure activity, and this is when the field opens up and heads in many directions. Essentially, it's set up in a medical model. You diagnose with a QEEG, a quantitative electroencephalogram. You use protocols based on past experience of what works and what doesn't work. And you do something called migrate and entrain, and I think of that as push and pull. It uses reductionistic science or linear physics. And Westerners have significant challenges in grasping and describing complex, dynamical, adaptive systems, which is another way of saying nonlinear system, complex adaptive systems. There are assumptions so deeply embedded in the Western culture's education and worldview that one is not generally aware of them. These assumptions, or accepted beliefs, make it difficult to understand and or deal with system complexity. So, what are the assumptions? Every observed effect has an observable cause. Even very complicated phenomena can be understood through analysis. That is, the whole can be understood by taking it apart and studying the pieces. But do you remember synergy? The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And sufficient analysis of a system, be it a weather pattern, live organism, or group dynamics, can produce the capacity to predict future behavior. These assumptions have proven marvelously potent in developing our understanding of the physical world They have served us less well, however, in illuminating how weather patterns function, how humans behave, and how brains function. Such systems as these are predictable in their general behavior, but are notoriously impossible to predict in detail. This area of study was originally called chaos science, and is now matured into a collection of topics called complexity science. And the math behind neuroptimal is nonlinear, and it's what's in the mathematics that counts. So what do the mathematics demonstrate? They demonstrate that the brain is a nonlinear, dynamical information processing system, that it's globally integrated and neuroplastic, in other words, it's self-organizing and it's adaptable to a significant degree. That giving this self-organizing system information about what it has done, or in other words, mirror back to it complete information about its own energy expenditure, is sufficient for it to renormalize its operation, without any outside direction as to what anyone considers better or worse for it. And this is what Neuroptimal encourages. Let's talk a little bit about Dr. Karl Pribram, neurosurgeon and neuropsychiatrist. Dr. Pribram's work established the composition of the limbic system and the executive functions of the prefrontal cortex. From my point of view, his work changed our understanding of how the brain functions, which includes emotions and trauma, and he had a significant influence on Dr. Val Brown while Val was at Georgetown University, and clearly why Neuroptimal is a paradigm shift. His work was called The Holonomic Brain, developed with Dr. David Bohm. They said the brain is like a hologram, not like a linear storage system. So each portion of the brain has the entire global picture. It was developed with physicist David Bohm, who is described as one of the most significant theoretical physicists of the 20th century. Here are some of Dr. Karl Pribram's books, and he also wrote 700 plus papers. Quite a prolific individual. So Neuroptimal is training, not treatment. It's brain training, not neurotherapy, and therefore it can be used by anyone. Therapists, coaches, trainers, body workers, families. Disorders are all particular ways that the central nervous system is operating ineffectively and inefficiently. Renormalization is inherent in the brain's capabilities. We're basically encouraging healthy chaos. The central nervous system, as Dr. Brown tells us over and over, is an energy-conserving system and a difference detector. It's all about the present moment. Do I need to meet a challenge or solve a problem? It's all about adaptability, survival, thriving. Neuroptimal evokes the orienting response, which is a biological default survival tactic that we use 24/7, 365. Each time it measures a perturbation event, this is an event that occurs when the system is about to shift, something called phase shift or state change. Example is when water goes to steam or water transforms to ice. That's how our reality is. That's how our brains function. Brain renormalizes itself because this is its inherent biological design. Our brains can learn from direct experience and improve themselves. Neuroptimals change the way that I work with clients significantly. I love talk therapy. I think it's wonderful. But unfortunately, it is limited. Because of what we now know about hormones and neurotransmitters, we have to be able to affect change at the biological level because of the protective mechanisms that are acquired unconsciously and biologically in order to function in a constantly changing world. And since the genius is in the Neuroptimal software, it doesn't take years of experience. Anyone can run sessions and experience benefits right away. Certification is done in an online course in the comfort of your home or office. And since it's completely safe and non-invasive training, anybody can use it. My own work in trauma began in 1979 when I was introduced to the work of Margaret Riddleberger, Dr. Ida P. Rolfe, Dr. Peter Levine, and Dr. John Upledger. I saw that our organism, like all mammals, has biologically protective mechanisms, and I saw what can be called autonomic discharge, or the body releasing stress that it had taken on in an earlier time. I was originally introduced to the work of Dr. Hans Selway through Dr. Ida P. Rolfe. Selway was an endocrinologist working in the hormonal system. He's the person that gave us the stress model. In a nutshell, you have to constantly adapt to the changes in life. These are stressors. The organism goes into a phase called resistance, and if it continues in this mode, the organism will go into a phase called exhaustion. This entire process is called compensation, or the compensatory process, which we're using all the time, by the way. And if overload occurs, you'll go into a state called decompensation. This is where ill health and the body starts to deteriorate. Neuroptimal is one of the most gentle, non-invasive approaches for reducing stress and improving overall resilience. I've observed it helping people to drop behaviors driven by unconscious biological mechanisms that cause, well, we could only call it suffering, or mechanical and automatic compensatory behaviors which we do not control and are in place biologically to keep us from burning out. Anxiety, depression, poor focus, hyperactivity, inability to relate well, self-regulation issues, and on and on. See the Neuroptimal 2014 independent survey. It's quite impressive. It's on the website. We see a wide spectrum of benefits. Neuroptimal interacts with the brain in a moment-to-moment way in a completely unique manner, providing the brain with moment-to-moment information about what it is about to do, and your brain does the rest. We never tell it what we think it needs. We comprehensively mirror back to it what it is about to do, and it returns to the present, instinctively assessing if it needs to meet a challenge or not. Back to the present. By the way, my wife and I love our Neuroptimal sessions and have found that they've had a significant difference in helping us deal with our intense lives in this fast-paced technological world, and obviously getting faster. Let us know if we can be of help with your Neuroptimal purchase, or ask us about a rental system. Or we're happy to answer any further questions. We're Zengar Institute Incorporated representatives. You can contact us, Lorraine at BoulderNeuroFeedback, or David at BoulderNeuroFeedback. Here's the office phone number. We can help you with both the personal and the professional bundle sales. We also offer consultation and supervision for those looking to integrate the technology into an existing or new business. Let us know if we can be of assistance. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.